Welcome back to the Forum Show. Keir Starmer has resigned. This is breaking news as of today. After less than 2 years of the biggest Labour majority in decades, our sixth Prime Minister in a decade has resigned. Welcome back to the Forum Show. Now, here are the facts. Starmer announced his resignation this morning, on the 22nd of June. Now, in his resignation speech, he said he'd heard from the parliamentary party on whether he was the best suited to lead the Labour Party into the next election, and he has accepted it with good grace. Now, nominations are open to replace him for around July 9th to July 16th. That's a rough date, but a new leader will definitely be in place by September 1st of this year. Now, the trigger that caused this was probably Andy Burnham winning the Makerfield by-election last week. And he got sworn in today as well in the Houses of Parliament, and it's looking like he is going to be the next Prime Minister. Now, Wes Streeting, who originally had the backing of 81 Labour MPs, which he can then use to trigger a leadership challenge, confirmed that he's now backing Burnham rather than running against him, which, in my opinion, I think he's been offered a decent cabinet position, and that's why he's not challenging him. And I think it's going to be a landslide for Burnham. I think he's just going to get all the MPs he needs. Now, an interesting response to this was Nigel Farage, who responded pretty much immediately by calling for a snap general election, saying that the country cannot afford another unelected Prime Minister, which is true. But under law, the Labour government don't have to hold a general election until around the year 2029. Now, here's my take on it. This is unprecedented. This is Prime Minister number 6 in under a decade. Normally, you get a 4-year period, 5-year period between different Prime Ministers. And that's if they serve out their full time. We've not had a full-term Prime Minister since before Johnson. And that was 2019 was his election. So we've not had a full-term Prime Minister since before Boris, and that is ridiculous. This is yet another Prime Minister being replaced by their party that the UK public didn't vote for. No one's voted for Burnham, which is one of the reasons Farage is calling for a snap general election. It's because no one voted for Burnham, and Burnham doesn't necessarily agree with the Labour manifesto. So if he needs any sort of public backing at all, there really should be a snap general election. And whether you like Starmer or not, you have to admit that at least you knew what his manifesto was, and you could assume that the Labour government had that manifesto. Now the Labour government's under new leadership, and we don't know what his course of action is going to be. And that should bother everyone. Now, Burnham is actually a better political entity than Starmer ever was. He's popular among the Labour Party, he can talk to working class voters, and he knows how to win. He's clearly just manoeuvred himself from the Mayor of Greater Manchester up to Prime Minister, suspectedly up to Prime Minister, in the space of a week. Now, that is a political operator. We're going to see this guy do some crazy things when he gets into power. One of the issues is the fundamental problems that everyone is facing. Burnham's not actually provided a solution for. This is yet another Prime Minister that we don't know what he's going to do. He's not been very vocal about what he's going to do when he gets into power, and he still hasn't provided any solutions. So until then, I'm going to be very sceptical about whether he can actually pull through and deliver for the country. Swapping the faces over of the leadership doesn't change the party overall. Now, Farage calling a general election, I sort of knew this was going to come out at some point. This is the right thing to do, I think, because people didn't vote for Burnham, people didn't vote for the policies he's going to enforce. He clearly doesn't agree with the way Starmer was running things. That's why he isn't an MP until now. So it's going to be a whole new manifesto, a whole new government, and they really should call a general election because they can't claim the mandate they were before. At least with Starmer, he could say, look, we got the biggest majority in decades. So there's clearly a mandate from the British people to do what he was doing. But now the Labour government can't say that because they don't have that mandate anymore. Because Starmer's not leading the party, it's not his manifesto, and it's not his way of running things. But that's fine, but any elected leader should be chosen by the people, and Burnham isn't. He's chosen by a Labour stronghold seat that Reform came second in, and that was quite a sizable chunk of the vote. Now, Reform are ahead in the polls, and this is a good thing But without a general election anytime soon, that is not likely to stay the same unless the Labour government continues to go downhill, which I think it probably will, but it's a big risk. So Farage needs this general election soon. But in my view, Reform are likely to either win or form a sizable majority opposition or coalition government at the next election. If it's in 2029, if it's any earlier, they would be in with a good chance of winning. But in the short term, it will be really interesting to see what Burnham does next. But Starmer is gone. We're now moving on to our 7th Prime Minister in a decade. No general election, no public vote. Burnham is pretty much 100% going to be walking into number 10 this summer. Farage better be loading up for the fight. Hopefully win a few more seats. And if there's a general election soon, win them all. But British politics is definitely not slowing down, and this is a pivotal moment. Now, if you want more analysis like this, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.